One. Hello and welcome to the Morning After Show. My name is Joshua Reimer. I'm joined by none other than Jared Block, who is over on my right, and we are back. The Morning After Show took a little hiatus. Jared took a little vacation. We had the NBA All-Star break, so I took a little personal vacation. But we are back 5 days a week. I don't know about you, Jared, but I'm definitely excited to talk some sports again with you.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks, I think, since we had any sort of show going on, Super
Yeah.
Bowl and everything else. So we had a couple of breaks here. It was a great time to take it, and now we basically have nonstop sports until the MLB All-Star break. So who knows if that even is a thing, but we're just gonna keep grinding until then.
Hey, hopefully we have nonstop sports. We need the MLB to get going here. We're going to talk about the MLB update on this show. We're going to talk about all the sports that we have coming up and all the recap from the weekend because, man, it was quite a weekend indeed. Shout out to Bacon23 for subbing at Tier 1. We greatly appreciate it. 17 months. That's insane. Tell me how the vacation was, man. Like, do you have a good time? Anything memorable happen?
Had a great time, man. For those of you who did not get that, I went to Florida for about a week to celebrate the birthday. So yeah, I had a lot of friends come out with that. That was cool. Our Airbnb was awesome. We had a heated outdoor enclosed pool thing in the backyard. So that was
Nice.
awesome. We basically just spent our entire trip there. But so if you've never been to Fort Myers area before, at this time of the year, it was basically like we were probably 3 decades younger than the average age of people that are there at the moment. And and everything all the happy hours there start at like 11 o'clock in the morning and
No
they go
way.
until like 3 4 p.m because everybody just goes, that's all they have to do during the day. They don't have jobs. They just go out, they go drink, and then they go eat dinner, and then they go to bed. So that's how that all went. The weather was great. Got to see the actual ocean for the first time in, I don't know, probably like 5 6 years. So that was cool for
Nice.
me to see that. And yeah, had a great time. Only downside was that I got sick afterwards, and I had a really bad luck with luggage on the way back. So I got to finally get my baggage today, after it's been a
Insane.
week since I've been back. So yeah, it's good times. Um, Apparently, you have a secret admirer with the same
Oh,
name
the
from
real
first time
Joshua?
chat user. Are
Oh,
you the
this is
real
interesting.
Josh, or who's?
I don't know. I guess I'm not the real Josh anymore. I guess that guy is. Well, welcome the real Joshua. It's first time viewer, first time chat from the viewer. We greatly appreciate it. Chris P says Malcolm Brogdon season tonight. Look, I've already gotten one notification about the Brogdon thing, and I have no clue what's happening. I don't know what the price tag is. Someone said it's super juicy, so we're gonna have to dig into that very soon. Dude, what's up with all the first time chats from the viewers? He's real Joshua says you're Joshua too. Yes, my name's Josh. We also have DRuff27. Welcome to the show. Said, did SMC expose Gonzaga? That could drastically hurt their title chances. We'll get to all of that because it's coming up. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a lot to talk about. You know, we were saying at the beginning of the show, if we try to keep this at an hour, it's probably not going to be an hour today. We have way too much to catch up on.
Yeah, it is. I mean, college basketball we could talk about for hours. It's going to be probably our new favorite sport to talk about for the next 6 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, we've been talking about college basketball forever, and if you guys got Josh and I to talk just specifically, like not sidetracked and talk about college basketball, it would be a very, very long show. So,
Yeah, an incredibly long
but
show.
yeah, we have a lot to catch up on. We were trying to make the schedule for this show today, and it's been so long. We haven't had a show since before the Super Bowl, so
No.
we've had like so many things to talk about. But we tried to condense it as much as we could, and just give away what the last weekend or so was in sports. So got a lot of things that cover a lot of different areas. But shout out to our sponsors at betonline.ag for hooking it up through the Super Bowl, and they're about to hook it up through all of March Madness. So we couldn't appreciate them more.
Yeah, for sure. Let's start talking about it, Jared. Let's talk about college basketball and let's talk about the upset season because that's exactly what it was on Saturday. An insane amount of upsets. The first time in history that the first six seeds have been upset all on the same day. I've truly never seen anything like it, and they just fell down like dominoes, man. It was one after the other after the other. I got to watch a majority of these games too, and man, which one? Let's start out with this. Which one is the most concerning for you out of all six of these teams losing?
It's tough to rank them because I do think that a lot of them were there's at least three that were buzzer beaters, right? Or at least down to the last possession. So
Mm-hmm.
those are always tough, and that's why March Madness is as electrifying as it is, because any team can win at any time. I guess the most not shocking, but like you and I have both been on the Gonzaga fade train, and
Yeah.
they showed again why, like, yes, I would say St. Mary's is the only real threat to them in that conference itself. They've played very well. I believe that they're undefeated at home, St. Mary's is this
Wow.
year. I would have to double check that. But that was something that I heard over the weekend. Again, I'll look. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But that is, we're going to talk about that later this week too, because the Western Conference Championship is this weekend. So we'll have to see how that goes again. But I would think that Gonzaga is going to be the big favorite there. But it just goes to show that I think that Gonzaga again has a chance to kind of fall short of expectations, and I think that that's probably one of the bigger losses of the weekend. The Michigan State win was pretty wild. The what was the one? Was that was Arkansas the one? No, which game was the one where they threw the baseball pass to half court or to like quarter court?
Um, I'm not sure which one it was.
There's
What
just so
is?
many.
Yeah, there,
The
there
team was
truly
in
was. It's insane. What a great day of
the team
basketball.
was in black jerseys.
Then it was probably Purdue, right?
I'll
Maybe.
have to check. No, I think it was a different one. Anyway, regardless, I think that was probably the craziest outcome of all of it, and I say we can't really say like which one was the worst upset for a lot of these because they were on last second shots, and that's kind of just what this time of the year brings every single year. But I guess the worst loss for me would be Gonzaga, or I mean, both of those teams at the top two have shown inconsistencies, and I think that for the first time in a long time, we don't necessarily see a front runner that we feel confident about anymore.
Yeah, every single year, there's always that one team where it's like, all right, this team is going to win. And I feel like a lot of people have anointed this Gonzaga team as that team. But like you said, you and I have been on this fade train all year long. Gonzaga really doesn't have the stuff, and I don't know how well they're actually going to do when it comes tourney time and they have to face off against some real opponents, because I hate to be that guy, but that conference is awful, man. Like outside of St. Mary's and a few other competitors, like it is truly one of the worst basketball conferences all around. I would say that the first two in Zona and Gonzaga, easily the clearest losers, because at the end of the day, Auburn, you lose on the last possession. That's fine. That's okay. And especially against a ranked team, like away from home too. Like, all right, that's all right. The Michigan State, that one's pretty bad, but again, last possession. Neither one of the Zona or Gonzaga games came down to the last possession. Both of them were
Yeah,
by 10 plus points. The
right.
Kansas game, all right, you lost to the 10th ranked team in the league. That's okay. Even the Kentucky game, like you lost on a last second shot by Arkansas. So like, yeah, understandable. It makes no sense why Colorado and St. Mary's are winning against the 1 and 2 seeds.
Right, exactly. Maybe it was the Colorado game. I don't remember, but anyway, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But the power rankings are all over the place this week. It's hard to say who's going to be a number one seed. It's hard, like it's going to come down to conference play, and that's what I want to see every time. So I'm excited that we have a few that we'll discuss this week. We have, like I said, the Western Conference tournament. We have the Big South. We have the Horizon. We have Patriot League. We have Ohio Valley, Sun Belt, Missouri Valley, which is always a fun one, and the West Coast. So, or also Summit League, which is one of my favorite conferences to cover always. So, we'll talk about all that later this week, and then all the big guys start to go the week after. So, we already know that Providence has won the Big East. And I know one of our members is really happy about that. I don't think he's on here currently, but if you know who you are, biggest Providence fan in the server for sure. So they clinched the Big East. The Big East tournament's always a week ahead. A little bit, not to give them any discredit, but like obviously the Big East has had a down year this year compared to other conferences. So what does this mean for Providence? It's been a long time since they've been in here. They don't really have like they have had a couple standout players for the last like 4 or 5 years or so. But how do you view this Providence team heading in, and what do you think estimating their seed could be for the tournament?
Yeah, I feel like they're around a 2 seed right now. I mean, they've clinched the spot, right? So it's hard to, especially it's all going to depend on the shakeup, right? Like where are these first 6 seeds that lost going to end up? It's going to be interesting to see like what rankings look like today. But I would say this is probably either the last 2 seed or a high 3rd seed. Like they get a pretty solid spot in the tournament, in my opinion. You're right, Big East play hasn't been the same so far this season, but I think they are at least somewhat of a threat. A team that goes 24-3, and they have AJ Reeves, who I really like personally.
Yep.
He's
Yep.
really talented. So I don't know. I'm not gonna say that they're contenders at all, but seeing them in a Sweet 16 spot certainly wouldn't surprise me.
Sure. Agreed. Right now, they are currently the number 11 seed in the AP, and in coaches poll are number 10. So maybe we see them sneak into a two. Maybe some of these top 10 teams underperform during the conference shakeout, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I do think that, a two would be probably a high for them, and that would be awesome to see. A three is probably where they'll end up. And if anything lower than that, that's definitely a discredit to the conference. So,
Yeah.
Big East, regardless of how good or bad it is this year on a normal scale, still one of the best conferences in the country. So, Providence, congrats! They're 22-3. That's one of the best records in the nation. So,
Yep.
got to give it to them where credit's due. Let's go on. We had some breaking news for baseball, so I don't think we want to just jump to it right away, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So, chat, I know that the spoilers are coming, but we'll get to this in a second. Uh, Tournament futures, we'll just go over this really quickly. We're going to be saying this like forever over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So, right now, the NCAA tournament favorite is Gonzaga at plus 400 still. Kentucky, you have at plus 650. I think that's a very solid bet still. I think Kentucky, um, I think they don't, I still think they don't get enough credit this year for what they're doing. Arizona plus 775. And you have Duke at plus 1,000, Kansas plus 1,200, Purdue plus 1,200, Auburn plus 1,200, and then it rounds out with Baylor at plus 1,400. In the power rankings, Josh, they moved, ESPN moved Baylor all the way up to number 2 again.
Interesting. That's a pretty big shakeup for Baylor, but uh I can't fully disagree with it. Definitely an interesting spot to put them though. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. We're getting to that time, right? We're getting to that time where you're going to get to the tourneys and then we get March Madness. I saw something that March Madness is like 16 days away now. And that's kind of hard to wrap my head around because that's so close. It's 2 weeks essentially.
Yeah, I was making the schedule for March for the company, and I noticed that April 4th is I was like, why does April 4th have no NBA games? And I'm like, oh, of course, it's because of the championship game. So that's going to be awesome. I think that they don't normally have that where the NBA takes the entire day off. So maybe, I don't
Oh,
know,
they
maybe
do.
that's new this year. But yeah, no, things start very, very soon. And the first four starts on March 15th. So that's only, 2 weeks from Tuesday.
Yep.
So, yep, that. And then Selection Sunday is March 13th. So less than 2 weeks away. We have a bunch of first round, I guess technically it's second round conference championships this weekend, and then next week is the one where you have the SEC, the Big Ten, the Pac-10, all those go for it next weekend. So it's going to be great to see. We have a lot of things in store for March Madness, and spoiler alert, a lot of it's going to be free.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. You guys remember, for those who do remember, I provided for college basketball. Just didn't have enough time to do it this year, but man, I'm excited to hopefully provide for something and then hopefully give out some other free stuff too. And like you said, all free analysis, so it should be a good time. Bacon 23 says the cheapest ticket for Coach K's last home game is $3,000. That's
Wow.
insane, man. That is insane.
Is that a public price or is that a student price? Because I would love to see what the student prices are.
I bet that's a public price. I would be curious to see what those student prices are though too. That would
Yeah.
definitely be interesting to watch or to look at.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else college basketball, Jared? If not, let's break down the NBA.
No, we're going to be going conference by conference pretty much all week over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks until the tournament actually tips off. So we're pumped for it. I'm glad to see that there's this is the first year in 2 years that we haven't had any hesitance whatsoever of this tournament happening. So I'm
Yeah,
pumped for
thank
it. This
goodness.
should be also
About
the first one with fans at full capacity in a
yeah,
long
did
time.
they have any fans last year? I honestly don't
I
remember.
I don't remember either. I want to say no.
Yeah, so you're probably right where it's the first one with. I would imagine pretty close. It depends on where it's at, right? But I would imagine it's pretty close to full fans.
Yep. So the hubs right now, it's the Final Fours in New Orleans,
Mm,
and then the hubs are Philly, Chicago, San Francisco, so Chase Center,
yeah.
and San Antonio.
Man, that's gonna be good. This is gonna be a really fun tourney. I'm excited for it because, like you said, like there's truly not that one team where they are for sure going to win, right? It's always a Kentucky, a Gonzaga. There's always some team that's usually the number one, and they usually end up tearing through the tournament. And there's always that Cinderella story. But I think there's a ton of potential for just a lot of fun to happen and a lot of upsets. So it's gonna be a good time. All right. We have finished up the college basketball section. Let's talk about NBA. What happened over the weekend? Because now I get to make fun of your poor Bucks, Jared. What the hell is going on, man? What is this? What was this whole entire game? Giannis lost me cash games on Saturday because he decided to be a bum bozo. What is this guy doing out here only scoring 50 FanDuel points against like one of the worst defenses in the NBA? I was flabbergasted. I was shocked. I was stunned.
Yep. As was I. It was during the main card too for UFC. That was probably the worst part. That
Yeah.
actually not that we'll talk about comparing one way or the other because I do think that the last half of the UFC main card lived up to the hype.
Oh yeah.
Um, so we'll get to that here in a little bit, but this game was atrocious from the Bucks standpoint, and they had a ceremony for the NBA 75. There's a lot of big names in the house for this game, and yeah, Kyrie Irving basically just balled out, and that was that. The Bucks have had all their guys back, right? Like they have Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, Giannis, but they're really struggling with their bench right now, and they're trying to fit in Serge Ibaka in place of Brook Lopez, and Pat Connaughton's hurt. They traded Dante away. They just have not looked great, and they just underperformed. And I know you were watching this game because of Giannis, and that it was really, really confusing. It almost felt like first of all, it felt like a playoff game, but second,
Yeah.
it felt like a college playoff game, where
Yeah.
it was like they're playing the foul game for like the last 3 minutes of regulation. It was kind of weird, and they just continued to not show up in the fourth quarter, and they had the lead for most of the game, right? And then
hmm
they just let the Nets take it away from them.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Nets were allowed to score 43 points in the third quarter was just
Yeah.
insane. That blew my mind because that's not what I make this Bucks team out to be. But when especially with your team, like they always have been, they live or die by the 3 point. And shout out to Roto Radar for gifting the sub. I'm assuming one of us did it, so greatly
It wasn't
appreciate
me.
it. Oh, it wasn't you. Oh, who
No,
knows
it
who it
wasn't me.
is then? Well, congratulations to Brian. Maybe it's Sean over there. Who knows? But congratulations, Brian, for getting that sub. All right. Yeah, just insane, man. Like I was truly shocked because I thought you guys had it in the bag. But like I was saying, you guys live and die by the three. And when it comes to other teams in your defense, if they get lights out shooting from the 3 point line, it's game over after that.
Yep, agreed. Kyrie Irving played great, and
Yeah.
that's going to be an interesting thing to see and watch. As I know it's not going to be for a while, but they said Ben Simmons is not expected to play for a while. Um, but
Yeah.
breaking news after the game: Kyrie Irving won't be able to play home games, despite the New York City mayor's plan to change some things around. Uh,
Really?
so just that's been news over the weekend and also doubled down on this morning. Apparently the NBA is not letting the Nets pay the fine to have Kyrie Irving play unvaxxed in New York.
Dude, what is going on here? Like, why? Just let the man play. I know you and I hate the
Uh,
Nets. We're big fans of the Nets imploding, and that's certainly what they're doing right now. But what is going on? Like, at the end of the day, you just gotta let him play at some point. I feel like, and I'm waiting for the day.
I mean, he looked great the other day. I can't say anything bad about it. He's
Yeah.
basically the reason that they won this game. It's just, can they do this repeatedly? Kevin Durant expected to come back in the next 2 weeks. Ben Simmons, I think that their whole thing is they're waiting for the playoffs, right? And it just feels very Lakers of last year to me, where they're not going to be able to keep up in what seems like the tightest Eastern Conference race in recent history, probably the last decade of how the standings have gone. So we'll see how they can keep up with that. I also heard something, and I'm just double checking to actually see if I can get a better glimpse on this. Um, they mentioned something about the Nets not having too many road games remaining. So I'm just looking and
Hmm.
see how many they actually have. I mean, they definitely have a couple, but they definitely have more home games than away games from the rest of the season now.
Yeah, especially at the end of the year, and that end of the year time is the most important time, right? I'm counting right here. 6 out of their last 9 are played at home. And those
Yep.
games that are played at home are the Pistons. That should be an easy win, regardless of who you have out there. The Hornets, a tough matchup for anyone. The Jazz, a really tough matchup, as the Suns proved yesterday. The Mavericks, a tough matchup. And the Knicks, who sometimes are tough, especially when they're against the Nets, they usually come out to play for that rivalry. So,
Yep.
and the Heat
Also,
as well.
yep.
Like, you
Right.
know,
So I was going to say this is not a home game, but we'll circle this one on the calendar for next week to talk about Nets Sixers in Philly, March 10th.
yeah, that's going to be a good one. I thought you were about to say Nets at Celtics because we get to see Kyrie Irving face off against
Oh,
the
that one's good too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of good teams for this Nets team. They're going to be on national television a lot to end the year, I think. Yeah, I can see the Heat game's a TNT game, the Celtics game's an ABC game, the 76ers game's on TNT. So it's going to be interesting to watch this team try to finish it out. They're 32-29, and they're fourth in the Atlantic. What are they in the standings in the Eastern Conference?
They are eighth.
Ooh. Katie's supposed to come back soon though, so maybe that revitalizes the team a little bit. All right, let's talk about another team, Jared, that got scored 40 plus points on in the third quarter last night. That would be my Lakers getting absolutely decimated by this New Orleans Pelicans team. Who would have thought, dude? We were talking about at the beginning of the year, whenever we did our Tuesday temperature gauges, we're saying,
Yep.
"Oh, this Pelicans team looks so bad. This Pelicans team isn't going to do much. You got to hit the panic button now." And now this Pelicans team is on a nice little run. They had a huge win against the Lakers last night. I watched the whole game because we had a huge sweat. The whole
Yep.
industry had Russell Westbrook and Brandon Ingram, and we had LeBron and CJ McCollum and Dwight
Okay.
Howard. We ended up coming out on top, which was absolutely awesome. Purely because Westbrook, I've watched a lot of Lakers games this year. It had to be the worst Westbrook performance I think I've ever seen in my life. He did
Oh no.
not get an assist until the fourth quarter, Jared. Like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe how bad he looked. And just the whole team looked bad too. I'm not just going to blame it on Westbrook. Everyone looked bad on the floor that night. The ball movement looked terrible. Looked like they were just trying to force it to LeBron the whole night. It was his 500th game where he scored over 30 points in the NBA. And he gets that achievement while getting blown out by the New Orleans Pelicans. It was a
Thanks.
rough night, man. It was a rough night.
Yeah. I thought about you on Saturday. I think the game wasn't on Saturday. It was like Friday or Thursday. Whatever game that the Lakers had this right at the start of the weekend where LeBron was triple teamed on the last possession, and then he gave it to Carmelo, who
And
just
Carmelo
totally tanked
shot
the
it from
shot.
like 4 feet out from the 3 point
Oh,
line. Yeah, I saw it,
I
dude.
thought about you
Ridiculous.
when I saw that, and then the announcers in the background just go, "She." It was terrible. But
Insane.
yeah, the Lakers not scoring 100 points against possibly the worst defensive starting five in the league in the New Orleans Pelicans is atrocious. Don't look now. I mean, when we were confused when they had traded for CJ McCollum and they said, we're not tanking, we're making the playoffs. And look at them. They're almost
Yeah,
there.
they're gonna make the playoffs probably. CJ has looked like a man possessed. Like I have never. Thank goodness CJ is finally out of Portland because he looks like a completely different player out of Portland now. And him and Brandon Ingram just have this chemistry that I really don't think you see in many other places when it comes to a wing like Brandon Ingram and a guard like CJ. That team's legit, man. And I mean, it only gets scarier. Imagine if Zion does come back at some point in this season.
Sure.
That is a star-studded starting four with a few pieces on the bench to help them stay along. Like I don't know. The Pelicans. I'm not going to say they're going to do much because they're going to have to face off against a 1 or 2 seed in the
Yeah.
playoffs. But they might get 2 games from a 1 or 2 seed because they do look solid right now.
Agreed. I think that they are going to try to get out of the play-in situation, and it's going to be tough. If there's any team that they can surpass right now, it would be the Clippers.
Yeah.
So, looking good. 6-4 out of their last 10 are the Pelicans. Yes, they're 11 games under 500. That's rough.
Hmm.
But still, the West down low in the 8 to 12 range is rough, and I think that the Pelicans. I don't know. I don't know if I could say this comfortably because I still think the Lakers could beat them in a play-in game, but I think that they are probably the strongest seed to come out outside of the Lakers.
It's insane because I was listening. It was Richard Jefferson that was commentating on the game last night. It was Richard Jefferson and it was someone else. I don't know the other commentator. But they zoomed in on like Vogel during a timeout in the fourth quarter, and there was like 7 minutes left in the fourth, and they were down by like 25, and Vogel was like, "Come on, guys, just act like we're just down by 15 and chip away at it." Like it's just like, oh my, like you're talking to the Los Angeles Lakers right now, a LeBron James led Los Angeles Lakers, and you have to say something like that against the Pelicans? Like, oh, like it can't get much worse than this, Jared. I refuse to believe it can get much worse than this. Um, it's going to be interesting to see what this Lakers team can do at the end of the year, if anything, because I think, you talked about it. Pelicans coming up on their heels really quickly now. Spurs will look really good when everyone's healthy. That's a big if because we never see this team fully healthy. The Kings, even, I know they're pretty far back there, but getting Sabonis, maybe a little bit of an energizer to that team. There's a
Sure.
lot of teams that could take away the Lakers 9 seed and take away that playing game.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I would keep an eye on the Spurs. I think that's definitely a solid team that could get hot, but we'll see. I mean,
Yeah,
Pop's gonna pop either way. So,
Pop's gonna pop.
um, what was I gonna go with here? Oh, so we have a new power rankings for this week,
Hmm.
and I'm just looking through it to see if there's any standing things that stand out necessarily. Was looking to see where the Lakers were in this. They are 19. Um,
Man,
dropped one from last week, and then the Pelicans are behind them at 20.
I
So
I want to hear your thoughts on this. Last thing that we'll talk about the Lakers because I'm sure people are sick of it, but I saw something. I don't know what browser you use, but I use Explorer because I'm on PC. And whenever I click on and get a new tab, it comes up with all those stories, right? And they're geared towards you. So there's a whole bunch of sports stories and stuff. And it talked about the perfect Lakers trade that they can make at in the offseason. And it said trade Anthony Davis to Chicago and get back DeMar DeRozan. Do you think even remotely in your mind that something like that is possible?
one of my best friends is a Lakers fan who came over the other night, and
Nice.
I told him, and I've said this to you openly on this stream, that they made one of the worst offseason moves in the league last year in
Hmm.
not getting DeMar DeRozan and choosing Russell Westbrook over him. And just
Yeah.
look what that has done to Chicago. Not saying that Russ was the best fit in Chicago because he wasn't. So maybe that was just how they were viewing it. But yeah, I mean, DeMar has a chip on his shoulder, and Russ
Yeah.
just isn't. It's just not working out with the Lakers right now. So we all know that Anthony Davis grew up in Chicago. He loves it. He loves playing there. It's always a narrative when he does play there. And yeah, I mean, I think that as a Bulls fan, you probably don't want Anthony Davis because you have Vooch now, who's been more consistent and healthy. So that's probably the biggest thing. Like, how do you? I know that you, as any team, is probably taking Anthony Davis with open arms, but at the end of the day, you have to know that there's injury risk always with this.
And you
So I
also
don't
have to
know.
know that DeMar's competing for like an MVP right now. Like he is. I mean, he's not going to get it most likely. It's probably going to be one of the big men, but like he's fifth in that conversation. He is one of the best players in the league right now. So I don't know. It was an interesting article to read, but I thought it was interesting when I saw it. I was going to bring it up with Sean. I probably still will, but wanted to bring it up with you.
Sure.
Let me hear it. Who's number one in those power rankings?
Number one, by the way, DeMar is number 4 in the MVP voting right now.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Um, so power rankings, the top 10, Boston Celtics at 10, Mavericks at 9, the Bucks at 8, Utah at 7, Chicago 6, Philly at 5, Miami Heat, top of the Eastern Conference, ranks at 4. Then you have Golden State at 3, the Memphis Grizzlies at 2,
Nice.
and Phoenix at 1.
That's very interesting. I want to get your thoughts. I don't know if you were able to watch it, but yesterday afternoon we got the Suns versus the Jazz, and the Jazz ended up coming out on top in that one, which was really surprising, I think, to everyone. Obviously, this Suns team still without Chris Paul, so who knows how much
Yeah,
this actually means, but it's still a big win for the Jazz, in my opinion.
big one for the Jazz. Were they at home, Utah?
No, they were in Phoenix.
Okay. I mean, I'll give it to them. Give them the
Yep,
win there. That's
for
fine.
sure.
The Suns are like 9 games above everybody else, which
I
is
know.
crazy.
It's insane.
So, Chris Paul out certainly affects them, but good news for them is that he should be back fully healthy for the playoffs. But we'll see. I mean, the Suns' detriment has been having players get hurt this late in the season, so we'll
Hmm.
have to monitor that. John Morant single-handedly beat the Bulls by himself on Saturday,
Yeah, he
which
did.
was a huge win for them. Broke a Grizzlies regular season scoring record with 46 points. It's got to be cool to see that kind of. I know that you're not technically in Memphis, but that's got to be cool to see because I'm sure it affects Nashville as well.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the closest team to us. You see the most fans here. I'm really excited to go to another playoff game because I got to go see them play against the Jazz last year, and that was a blast. I had so much fun in that game, and Grizzlies were in it basically the whole way through. And the fact that they're going to get to face off who knows against who, but they're definitely going to be the favorites in that series. I'm excited. I think this when this Grizzlies team is fully healthy, they're and that's the big thing. They're not even fully healthy yet, right? They still have to get Dylan Brooks back. They still have some other key bench pieces that they had to get back.
Yep,
It's crazy how dangerous that Memphis Grizzlies team is, and I feel like a lot of people underrate them, but they could very well make a trip to the Western Conference Finals this year.
they could. Right now, they're getting Denver Nuggets in the first round, so that would be an awesome series to
Yeah,
see.
that'd be a lot of fun. A
But
lot
yeah,
of fun.
the Warriors are going to be fighting with this Grizzlies team for that second seed because I think it's a much different matchup if you get Warriors versus Wolves first instead of Warriors Nuggets. Like I think the Nuggets, like Joker gives that team a shot no matter what, but
Oh yeah.
we'll see how it goes with that. I mean, I don't know. What are the chances you think that Jamal Murray actually comes back this year?
I wouldn't be surprised. They're saying that Murray and Porter are going to come back around the same time. So, like, that makes that series even more juiced, right? Like, that makes that
Right.
series potentially 7 games at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun
That's
to
why,
watch.
as a Grizzlies fan, you were doing everything you can to avoid the Nuggets.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. You're definitely looking somewhere else. I mean, if you can get anyone else, I'm sure it's much more. I like getting Timberwolves is a much easier matchup, and getting you're probably not going to get the 8 seed because Suns are probably holding on to that 1 seed pretty firmly. But uh, getting over the Warriors will be important for them. Um,
Yeah.
all right. Anything else NBA wise that you want to talk about? If not, we can talk about some MLB updates.
Sure. I'm going to say this. This is my hot take for to really see if
Yeah.
the NBA is an actually scripted league or not.
Okay.
It
Let's hear
is
it.
February 28th. Mark it down here. There's a real shot that the 76ers will get the Brooklyn Nets in the first round of the playoffs.
Oh. Oh.
Real shot. Because if the Nets get Durant back and they start to play Simmons, no matter where the Sixers are, they're in the 3 seed right now, and I don't think that they really have enough in the tank to get to above the Bulls or Heat. So there's a real chance that we get a 3-6 of the Sixers Nets, and that could be really insane. Maybe even a 2-7
That would be the most hyped up playoff
in
series in
the first
history,
round.
probably. In the first
Yeah,
round, yeah, obviously in the
yeah.
first round would be absolutely insane. Man, that'd be such a blast to watch. Last thing, and I want to get to this question because I've seen a ton of it around on Twitter. Life of Goosty asked Derrick Rose MVP season or Ja this season. He says
Yeah.
he's seen people on Twitter talk about it too. I've seen a
Yep.
lot of it. I've been
Me too.
debating it myself. I don't know. I honestly don't remember what was the Bulls' record that year with with Derrick Rose winning MVP.
I don't remember.
We're gonna
So
go look
that
this up. We're
one of
gonna
the
go.
yeah, one of you stat buffs in the chat, tell us because from what I saw, all the graphics are stating that John Morant beats Derrick Rose in almost every category.
Insane, man. Like I could never imagine. I could never imagine. He won it in 2011.
Yeah.
The Bulls in that gosh, it's gonna take so long to look up, but we're trying it. Rose was a beast that season, says XY Games. Um, I agree that Rose was a beast that season, but man, like I, you got to realize just how good John Morant's been this year too.
Yeah, I mean, if obviously, Joel is actually the favorite at the moment, but Ja can't be that much farther behind. I think he is behind Giannis and DeMar technically, according to Bet Online. So, yeah, he is. So I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't think that Memphis still gets enough credit for the record that they've had this year.
The Bulls this season, in that season, finished 50-16.
That's
And
pretty
finished
nuts.
first in the NBA Central Division.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they finished first in the conference as well, though I can't. They lost in the first round though against the 76ers. I think it really does just depend on playoffs. Like what does this Grizzlies team do in the playoffs because I do truly think that, fully healthy that team I'm not going to say they have a Western Conference Finals ticket booked, but yeah, it's pretty close to me.
Yeah, you would have to have obviously one of the Suns or Warriors, not get them or
Yeah.
face off against each other. That all depends what side of the bracket, which is again was why if you're a Memphis Grizzlies fan, you really want that 2 seed.
Yeah, you definitely want that 2 seed for sure. All right, let's talk about the MLB and everything that's going wrong over here because while NBA is cooking with gas, MLB is coming to a slow sizzle right now. Owners and players met over the weekend to try to solve the CBA lockout, and on Saturday, things went sour. There was a yelling match, according to a lot of sources like Ken Rosenthal and a few others that I've been paying attention to. Players ended up storming out of that meeting. They met yesterday again, though. They were going to call off the meeting yesterday, but I think cooler heads prevailed and they ended up meeting and they talked a little bit. And the rhetoric that I've heard is that they're going back and forth and saying, well, if we do this, can you guys do that? And, kind of trying to negotiate here. But today's the last day. Today is the last day. And if we do not get a deal done today, then the MLB season will be postponed for who knows how long, but it will be postponed if they don't get a deal done soon.
Yep, just for clarity, this is from Jeff Passan said that on Saturday, if the deal does not get done by today, end of day today, the league will not have a 162 game season. So they will not push things back.
Yeah,
They will just take games away.
yeah,
So we'll see how it goes. And I'm surprised that we haven't gotten this breaking news on from the chat.
I
It's been
know.
like 30 minutes, but here it is. As of 30 minutes ago, from MLB on Fox, Derek Jeter stepping down as the CEO of the Miami Marlins.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Like I don't think anyone saw this coming, and it came out of left field. I feel like for everyone involved, but obviously things didn't go Jeter's way necessarily with that Miami team. I feel like we all kind of talked about it, or at least Sean and I talked about it. Like, how much did it affect Jeter's legacy if that Miami team wasn't able to succeed? I didn't think it was that much. I know a lot of other people said that it was going to be a lot. Do you think the fact that not only did it not succeed, but the fact that he quit on the team Do you think it impacts his legacy at all?
No, not really. I
Yeah.
think there will always be a spot for New York's Jeter, right? And I think this is just sure he made a lot of questionable decisions,
No.
and they had a lot of bad luck happen to them through the COVID stuff. So there's
They
always
did.
that. But yeah, no, I mean it's just a very very hard market. Them and Tampa both I don't understand, and Tampa's a really really good team. It's just how do you how like the strangest thing about all this is that Florida is one of the best farm systems, high school markets, college markets in all of the country, yet they can't sell out a single game in their own stadiums at the MLB level.
Insane. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, it blows my mind every time I hear about it. But like, yeah, it's absolutely insane. Um, Man, I just want baseball. I really, really want baseball. I'm so excited for baseball. Not even excited for my Yankees. I think the Yankees are a whole nother situation that I don't even want to talk about right now. I just want to watch baseball during the day again, Jared. Like that's
Yep.
all I want. I just want to watch
Well,
baseball during the day.
the whole thing about at least here, I could say, because I mean, by you as well, and I know that growing up in a colder weather, you understand this. For everybody who grows up in warm weather, you might not understand it as much. But when the weather starts to get better around March, around April, and starts to get warmer, it just feels like baseball again.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really sad if they can't come to an agreement today. But I'm still optimistic that we get an opening day in April.
I think so too. I think at the end of the day, these two sides come together and realize that maybe they're not getting exactly what they want money wise, but it's gonna save the sport as long as we go at least close to on time, man. Like you just need to be
Sure.
like 2 weeks within on time. I think if you start middle of April, I think every fan is delighted. You have a 160 game season. I think it's the best possible scenario right now. I'm just really hoping that maybe we get it done today. I think it's a long shot. I think it's going to take a lot for it to get done today, but if it gets done today, then it feels like it's going to be a bit of a miracle.
Yeah, a little bit of a long shot. I agree. Um, just reading up with the chat here. Nick's got some comments about Jeter.
I
I
saw.
guess, I mean, technically, yeah, I would say his legacy is affected a little bit, but I think you have to separate the player from this, even though it's tough.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, he definitely showed his true nature a little bit. You'd think that
Oof.
this is it's kind of a bitch move, not gonna lie,
Well, the
to
crazy thing
just
is, the
to
reason
a team like that.
I feel like there's more to this, right? Because this Marlins team is in the one of the best spots that they've been in a while,
Yep,
right? Like Jazz
structurally, yeah.
Chisholm, Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, so many good players on that team.
Yep.
I don't understand the move. I really don't. So I'm curious to see what else comes out about it.
Sure. I mean, Nick's got a good point. Maybe there's something more that we don't know. Maybe the ownership was just like, nah. Um, well, I don't know. But
No.
so I guess like you're right. They haven't been in this good of a spot structurally in quite a long time. And I think this is kind of where you start to see the snowball of everything that they did. Although it was weird how they get rid of Stanton, Yelich, Ozuna, and everybody else under the sun, and then obviously the stuff from Fernandez. So now that stuff is starting to come back around to them in the, the next generation of players. So we'll see. I still think that baseball is an extreme problem to solve and look at in the the home teams. And there's like, we talked about this a couple weeks ago where they denied the Tampa Montreal split home game thing. That was weird. It would have been cool to see that, but again, I don't know. Who knows? We're not the people behind all that stuff. So Fatty says San Diego Sports Radio is talking about an idea of MLB teams making playoffs if they get to 84 wins. Interesting conversation.
That's
I think that's
ugly.
just San Diego being butthurt about last year, and
It
they would have made
definitely
the
is.
playoffs anyway.
It
So
definitely is. Oh,
yeah, they are.
jeez.
Well, I mean, they have to live up to playing the Dodgers every single year
Yeah.
and the Giants. So
Yeah.
like, I don't know, gonna be weird. Talk about drama. I mean, the NL West is gonna be insane again this year.
Bro, the NL West is all like the NL West was absolutely bonkers last year. It's going to be great this year. I'm excited for it. Man, it just all of baseball gets me excited, man. I'm so pumped for this season to start up, but I just hope it's starting up soon. And we'll be updating you guys through all the lockout talks. I'm pretty toned in on it, right, or keyed in on it right now. So I keep updated throughout the day, and we'll make sure to update you guys on these shows for sure. All right. Anything else on the MLB front? If not, we could talk about a little bit of UFC that happened on Saturday.
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's talk about UFC, man. Probably, well, definitely my best card of 2022 by a long
Yep.
shot. For those who don't know what happened, FanDuel cash game lined up, ended up taking down tournaments for some people. At the very least, you placed in the top five everywhere. And it was an absolute smash for the FanDuel lineup. But not only that, we won on DraftKings as well. Top 20% win on DraftKings. And then we smashed sports betting 3-0. One of those wins being a plus $1,500 or plus 1,500 parlay, meaning that if you placed $100, you won $1,500, and members made straight cash. It was a great day. I don't know if you saw the last spot where I ended up cashing the ticket for the parlay, but the
Yeah.
last fight was the Priscilla Cachoeira fight facing off against Ji Young Kim, and oh my god, I was talking with a buddy because I just gotten done with NBA. I was watching in the background while me and him were playing a game, and I was telling him he does sports betting too. So I was telling him how I have this parlay. I'm one leg away right now. It's probably unlikely. It's women's MMA, so it's about as unpredictable as it gets. But I felt like she was a live underdog, so we took her, and I proceeded to watch her just get her face beat in for all 3 rounds. And I was thinking, go into the judges' cards, like, no way that she ends up winning this one. And somehow, just thank you for once. Thank thank you, Vegas judges. Finally, we don't get bad Vegas judges. It's been such a long time, but Vegas judges definitely helped us out.
Yeah, they definitely did with that one. But hey, a win's a win. A
Exactly.
few of these fights were definitely weird from a decision standpoint. A
Yeah.
couple very close fights. Um, I think was Saruki another one. I think maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was I
It
can't
was
say the name.
Petrosian.
Petrosian. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that
there you
was the
go.
one that I was like, wasn't that the one where he was down bad in the second round and then he
Mhm.
somehow managed to do enough in the third?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
Yeah.
the fight it was.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. Anyway, really, what was the fight of the night? And do you think that it was actually that?
Oh, the actual fight of the night? I have no clue who actually got fight of the night on this card. I want to say that it was probably Sarukian. For those who didn't watch the Armin Sarukian and Joel Alvarez fight, it was an absolute banger, and Sarukian landed an elbow straight on the bridge
Oh,
of Joel
that was the highlight
Alvarez's
of the night
nose.
right there. Yeah, that was the highlight of the night for sure.
It was crazy, man. I mean, just like blood just leaking out of his face. And I was so surprised that it kept going for as long as it did.
Yep.
I did not think they were going to start that second round. But they started the second round, and Sarukian's one of those guys where he's a big time dark horse in this lightweight division. There's a lot of lightweight guys that we kind of figured out what their deal was. We got Ignacio Bahamondes get a big win against Zurong. He's kind of putting himself not necessarily in contender spot, but definitely making his way there. He's a rising prospect. Terence Mckinney continues to impress us. His first win was like a 10-second knockout, and this one was a rear naked choke against Faris Ziam 2 minutes into the first round. Like, we saw a lot of lightweights improve themselves in an incredible fashion.
They're saying the Kim fight has fight of the night.
I mean, well deserved, probably. I mean, they were banging, man. I mean, I know that Jiyeon Kim clearly outstruck Cachoeira, but I mean, Cachoeira was throwing bombs too. Like, I know she was barely able to stand up at certain points, but they were throwing absolute bombs for the whole fight. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a picture floating around Twitter where both of them went to the UFC doctor and they took a picture together afterwards, and Priscilla Cachoeira's face is just all swollen up and just looks so bad. And Jiyeon Kim just has like a bandage on her forehead, and that's it. She looks perfectly fine outside of the bandage. And it's like, who do you think won this fight? And let me tell you who actually won, because it would shock most people for sure.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. We did just get, not to move something around here really quickly, but the MLB or Jeff Passan just posted um, basically saying that today is an 11th hour miracle if they were to start canceling opening day or not. So
Hmm.
basically calling the owners out, uh, mistreatment of players, like it's a really big deal. So new story on ESPN if you guys want to check that out after this. That was apparently, you know, I think everybody kind of agrees that this was a thing, but it's very clear now and announcing to the public that this is all on the shoulders of the ownership.
Yeah, and I mean, we knew this, right? Like we had a feeling that I feel like everyone is siding with the players, and rightfully so. There's a lot of things that really don't make sense in that collective bargaining agreement for the players. I hate to be devil's advocate, and maybe I shouldn't be in this spot, but they do have to meet the owners halfway, right? Like, it takes both sides coming to the table and wanting to make a deal for it to actually happen. And I know the players want a lot of things. Maybe they need to ease up on some stuff. I think at the end of the day, it's just going to be a huge detriment if they end up starting to cancel games. Like I don't know, man. I've seen a lot of people just start saying that, like, if they're going to cancel games, like, I'm not going to watch this season because they clearly don't care about me. So why should I care about them? I think the direct quote was that if there's no games, if the owners don't care about having games in April, then why should I care about watching games in May? And that just, I don't
Sure.
know. MLB's already in a really bad spot. I mean, they're already bottom of the top three major sports, and I feel like it's only a matter of time, honestly, before you see a sport like hockey or a sport like the UFC end up surpassing them.
Agreed. I mean, I can't really say much more than that.
Yeah.
Completely agree with what you just said. So let's just get back to UFC really quickly.
Yeah.
Preview Jorge Masvidal, Colby Covington this weekend. It's going to be an awesome fight, awesome card itself. What are you most excited for outside of the main fight?
Oh man, there's so much to be excited for. So many good fights all over the card. Obviously, the rivalry that Jorge and Kobe have is absolutely insane. But we get the return of Bryce Mitchell as well. He's a submission wizard when he's on the ground and currently undefeated. I'm really excited to see him fight against Edson Barbosa. We get the first Rafael Dos Anjos fight since he fought against Paul Felder, and he gets a rising lightweight prospect in Rafael Fiziev. You have Jalen Turner coming back, who is a really special talent. He gets a fight against Jamie Malarkey. Umar Nurmagomedov is an amazing striker that gets a fight against Brian Kelleher. Like the list of great fights just don't end on this one. It's one of those cards where I think they understood that putting Masvidal and Covington at the top was a good thing for the card just because of how intense this rivalry is, how excited people get to watch Jorge, how excited people get around Colby Covington. But they definitely made up for the fact that it's not a championship fight by making
Sure.
all of these other fights absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's a well constructed card for sure, and we will be breaking it down for you guys every single day this week that we do shows. So
Yeah.
I know we're coming up on the hour mark. Let's just end this baby with some NHL blind dogs for the first time in 2 weeks.
Oh, let's do it. I don't even know what the records were like before the break, but Jared, I say, how about this?
Good.
It was 2 weeks ago. Let's start anew, baby. Let's get a new record here. So we're just gonna go both at 0-0 now. We can see if we can redeem ourselves because I feel like we were both negative for our first little side of it. But let's see what we can do. You get the first pick. Go for it. Who do you want to take here?
Yeah, we're at the tail end of the league making up for the Olympic stuff and all the COVID stuff. So we're gonna have some more games to talk about here. But right now we have three for today, and they're all really close games. So I don't think you can necessarily go wrong with a blind pick. So I mean, I'll find a way. I always find a way to figure this out. But uh, let's go with let's go with the Canucks at plus 105.
Nice. I like it. I'm going with the late night hammer. Let's get the Kings at plus 110 at home. And let's let it ride on our NHL blind dogs. By the way, guys, these are not official bets. I know we have a few new people in the chat from
Yeah,
CV47.
yeah.
Do not bet these. We do them for fun for you guys. And we see they're literally blind dogs. Jared and I know next to nothing about NHL. So it's a good time. And, we get to laugh about it the next day. And you guys get to make fun of us when our picks are absolutely awful. But that is it. By the way, shout out to Bet Online, our sponsor. That's where we got those odds from, and they are the best in the biz. Jared, any final thoughts before we get out of here, man?
Final thoughts. We'll keep you guys updated in the server about MLB all day. It's kind of a last second ditch effort, and I don't want to be grim about the situation, but I mean that's we've seen it come together. I'm optimistic for baseball in April, as Josh is too. We can't wait, and like we were just talking about it for way longer than we probably should have today, and you could just tell how excited we are for that sport to come back around. But keep an eye on that stuff today. The NFL announced some overseas games. We'll talk about those later this week. But outside of that, it's basically college basketball and NBA time right now.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about both sports. I know we got a really intriguing matchup in the NBA tonight with the Bucks facing off against the Hornets. Got a few other good games as well tonight. Should be a really good time. Make sure to tune in for the NBA members only podcast. If you are an NBA subscriber, it'll be Sean and I on that show, and we'll be ready to break down the slate for all of you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. We go live, just in case you don't remember, because we haven't been live for 2 weeks now. This show goes live at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every morning throughout the week, except for Thursday. And we'll continue to be providing you guys updates on sports. So I appreciate Fatty saying it's great to have us back. It's great to be back. And I know Jared is just as excited as I am to continue talking sports with y'all. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer. Good morning and good skill.